there, I'm Sharon from Copycat Cards and Creations. Welcome to my studio. I recently made this card called Harvest Moon, and my husband suggested that I make a video to show you how I made it, so that's what I'd like to do today. I think that I have everything I need gathered. I just want to give a little disclaimer. If you hear a little dog in the background, that's our little one called Bear, and when he hears voices or me saying hi, he thinks somebody's arrived, so he may pipe up. But anyway, let's get started. So to make this card, I used Brutus Monroe Simple Blend stencil. And the great thing about this stencil is that it is perfectly sized for A2 cards. It has the outer frame with the circle cut out, and of course the circle mask. And I used the outer frame first to create my card. I also used this beautiful tree image and this line of geese flying. These are from a Stampendous set called Nature. It's an older set. I did embossing with black powder. I used my Distress Oxides and a teeny bit of Zest ink from Brutus Monroe. I also used this cool stamp. This is a very old stamp from Magenta. I bought it many, many years ago, and this is what I used to create the texture, the shadows on the moon. And I think that's it. So let's see if I can remember how I made this in the correct order. I started out with a sheet, a piece of bristle smooth watercolor, and just laid, it's already cut down to an A2 card size, and I just laid my stencil right on top. Pardon my arm. I just am going to tape down my stencil so that it doesn't shift, but you can see that it's perfectly sized for our cards. So there's no guesswork. And the first thing I did was to sponge on a little tiny bit of black soot, Distress Oxide, just lightly around the edge of the circle. This kind of defines the outer edges of my moon. And then a little bit of my faded jeans. I wanted to say that I own one of these little handles. I find that it's really convenient because I keep it right on my desktop. Each of my ink pads have their own little foam thingy, but I only need one handle, and so I don't have to worry about trying to store multiple handles, and it's really convenient to just reach for this one when I need it. So I think that I've put this on a little bit more heavily than I did on my first card, but you all know that when you try to recreate a card, it's never going to be exactly the same. The next thing I did was use this cool texture stamp, and I just kind of lightly stamp on my moon right over the stencil. And I have my, I'm not sure if you can see it in my camera, but I have my little cleaning thing over here, and then I'm going to repeat that with a little bit of the black soot. It's just kind of guesswork as to where I place that. So then, while that was still damp, while those inks are still a little bit damp, I'm going to take my sponge for the black and just, whoops, kind of go over it again And actually my stencil shifted and my ink is wetter than I thought it was, so my moon doesn't look right. Well, we'll just go with it because the whole idea of this stamp, this card was to show you how I made it. So the next thing I do is take my little line of flying geese, make sure that they're upright, and ink it up with some more of the black and stamp it across the front of my moon. And of course I got a smudge. So I will add another little line and hope that covers it up. Okay. So the next thing I did, I think, was I removed that. Well, it still kind of looks like a moon. It's not perfect, but that's okay. The next thing I'm going to use is the circle mask, and I'm going to add just a little tiny piece of adhesive. This is the adhesive that I use. It's Glue Arts Glue Glider Pro, and I love this. It's fairly light. It has a cartridge that pops in and out. I can orient it to push my adhesive on or to pull, and I prefer to pull. And I buy the refills from Amazon in a 2 or 3 pack for about 20 some odd dollars total. One of these at AC Moore is $12 or $13, so it's a good deal to get it through Amazon, of course. So the next thing I did was mask my moon. And I have the little adhesive on there to keep my stencil down. And I'm going to begin with my faded jeans. And I'm going to start from the stencil and brush outwardly. To start my night sky. Now my first card, I don't think I carried this all the way down, and I ended up, oh yes, I guess I did. Yeah, because I will do my little, I'll use a mask to create this darker ground beneath the tree. All right, so that looks good. Now I'm just going to switch out my little thingy, my little pad, go to my black, and again, do this. Actually, I'm going to start from the edges because the sky would typically be a little bit lighter around the moon because of the light. All right, that looks good. I'm nice and inky. Okay, the next thing is to remove my mask. There's my moon. Now I did get a little bit of the edges, so I'm just see the little white line around it. I'm just going to kind of smudge over that and try to disguise it a little bit with some more shading on the moon. so that little white line that shows from my stencil not being perfectly placed will be disguised a little bit. Okay, so there's that. The next thing is to spatter some white stars, and I just keep a little bottle of craft paint right on my desktop. I use the cap, a little bit of water right here, get it wet enough. I love spatters. I think they just add such a cool little dimension to our cards. That's that. Little wipe. And a paper towel. Okay. Now I'm going to use my heat tool just to dry those spatters so I don't smear them. And this will just take a minute. Can you believe how awesome that texture stamp is for making the moon shadows? I've used that stamp in so many ways for so many years. I don't know if you can still get it. I think that if you go online and look up Magenta stamps, texture stamps, you might find it somewhere. All right, the next thing is to powder up my card with my stamping buddy so that my ink won't stick. And then my tree on one of my big dirty blocks. It's not sticking, so a little line of tape. All right, and I think I'm going to use Versamark, not my black ink, my black pigment ink, I mean. Get that inked up really well. And this is such a fabulous stamp. Stamp that down. I'm going to stand up to add a little pressure. Awesome. My friend Lynn Bunn gave me these little spoons for my embossing, and I use them when I have a smaller area to do, but when I have something like this, I just slide this baby right in there. So awesome. Brush off the excess. That looks good. I'm always careful to put the lid on my embossing powder right away because I have tipped them over before and I hate to lose it and it makes a mess. All right, bear with me while I use my heat gun. Now I just noticed that I covered up most of my little flying geese. See what I mean? I can't quite recreate it exactly. But like I said, this video is just to show you how I made this card. And I may not even post it. We'll see. Look at the detail in that tree. Stampendous is one of my absolute favorite companies. And I'm thrilled to be one of their frequent guest designers. Okay, now I need to ground the tree, and to do that I'm just going to use a mask. Whoops, wrong way. This way. And for this, I'm going to use my nice black Brutus Monroe Raven Detail ink. And I'm going to use the little pad from my black soot stamp. This ink is really great because it's the kind of ink that you can use for all mediums. You can stamp out and then watercolor with it, or you can use it for stamping images to use your Copics. All right. So there's my little landscape behind my tree. How quick and easy was that? And look, it's almost done. Clean up my surface. Paper towel. All right, I'm going to step aside for just a moment to trim this with my stitch rectangle dies, so hold on. There it is, all trimmed, and I'm going to use some foam tape to mount it so it lifts it off my base card a little bit. I have a pair of scissors that I use only for cutting my foam tape, but they're all gummed up. I need to clean them. One. Two. Can't believe we haven't heard anything from Bear. Three. I have my base card ready. My surface is clean. My fingers are clean. Oops. That one didn't come off very well. And there it is. Voila! Another harvest moon. Not exactly like the first one, but close enough. Oh, I just realized what I forgot on this one. Darn it. I meant to sponge on just the tiniest bit of zest along the bottom. I don't know if you can see on this one. It's just very faintly yellowish down here. And I like how it looks. So let's see if I have any. And I have to be so careful with this because this is the surface inks from Brutus Monroe are amazing. They're so juicy and richly pigmented. They're fabulous. There. Done. I'm going to put a little bit in my moon. I don't dare to do it very heavily. Oh, awesome. Awesome. There you go. Thanks for watching.